Hello everyone, we have to discuss about that. GS paper 1 men's answer writing. Insight on ideas. What do you understand by the terrestrial train? And discuss the causes, social, economics and geographical impact of territorial rail in India. You may have direction. You may have defined the territorial rail 2 से 3 line and list down and what causes it and then give other social, economics impact and separately list down its geographical implications. In conclusion, in brief, give and the mitigation measures. Introduction. Terrestrial rain is very amount of rain and that is considered especially heavy the accumulation and that rain that rain are the terrestrial simples means and the amount of the rain is the abundant and had other fast onset or last for other long periods of time e.g. And according to the IMD, Bangalore city received 114.6 millimeters of rainfall in May 2022. Causes of the terrestrial rainfalls, measures and instabilities by the winds and pressures in the Arabian Sea, natural event, clouds and climate change. Moisture when the amount of the moisture in air mass is the proportionally larger compared to its size. Its causes heavy rainfall, instabilities by wind and due to likely the instability causes by the interaction between the westerly and wind from higher altitude and most wind from the Arabian Sea and northwest India. Part of Jammu and Kashmir will receive heavy rainfall. Pressure in the Arabian Sea. Deep in pressure, low pressure in the Arabian Sea than normals and which formed under the influence of cyclonic and the circulations causes widespread heavy rain across Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Natural and weather events like the burst of the monsoon and tropical storms and the cyclones also causes and terrestrial rainfall. Clouds, the convectics around the clouds and causes and precipitations to occur when enough moisture and rises up and due to and the upwards motion and the cumulonious and clouds and can also causes the terrestrial rainfall in specific structures. Specific restrictions and regime. Climate changes, global warming contributions to events since warm air can and hold more moistures which can result which will raise an instance of waterborne diseases. Geographical implication. Flash flood. Heavy rain may also be the responsible for the overflow of the river, lake and stream or even the major river, leading to riverines floodings, e.g. and frequent floods in Assam and Chamoli, flash flood in the Uttarakhand and landslide. Another hazard in the aftermath of heavy rain is landslide and which can occur on hill or mountain slopes which are the usually considered as high risk areas and e.g. recent the instances of landslide in the Nainitals, Uttarakhand and Manipur and rain off. If heavy and the rain arrive and more the quickly and then the grounds and can the absorb water and you get run off the waters that run off the land and instead of the shipping and into the ground and soil erosion. Heavy rainfall over the specific regions and can causes the erosions of soils and which further affect the productivity of soil and causes land degradations. Conclusion. To mitigate and the impact step that and needs to the taken and are the restricting developmental and economically activities in hazard prone and design can minimize the maturities of pupils and the terrace farming and should be the encourages in the northeastern hill estates and where the juning slash and warms and shifting the cultivations is still prevalent and which the prevents and soils. Northeastern hill estate and where the juning slash and warms and shifting the cultivations is still and prevented and which the prevents soils and erosion as well as the water logging and to prevent the impacts of flash and flood and pupils and should live in the areas on the slopes and with the firm grounds and instead of the heavy and for the safety reasons and also there is need for the infrastructures and discuss. Question number 2. Discuss the prominent features of the northern plains of India and which make it highly and suitable for agriculturals in India. 10 minutes. Direction. Define the northern plains and give other brief history of its formation 2 and 3 lines and then list down features and that makes the northern plain and bread basket of India and draw other diagrams of the features and wherever and required conclusion. Introduction. The northern plain have been formed by the interplay of the three major rivers systems, namely the Indus and the Gangas, the Brahmaputra and along with their the tributaries and this plains and spread over an areas of 7 lakh square kilometers the plain and being about the 2,400 kilometers long and 320 kilometers abroad is other densely populated and physiographical division. Main body. Northern plain. They lead to the south of the Shivaliks and separated by the Himalayas and frontier fold HFF and the southern boundary is other heavy Bavian regulars and lines along the northern edge of peninsular India. On the eastern side the plains are bordered by the Purvanchal hills, the great plain of northern Himalayas, the northern mountain region and Punjab Haryana plain, Rajasthan plain and upper and the Ganga plain region and middle plain and Nepal Ganga etc. Lower Ganga region. Prominent features of the northern plain and that make it and the suitable and for the agriculture is the fertiles and soils covered. The northern plain are the largest and alluvial stretches of the world and thus the plains and extend approximately 3,200 kilometers from the west to east and rivers and with the descent and from the Himalayas and deposits there the long lord alongs and the foothills in the forms of the alluvial fans. Khadar and the Bhangar and which are the old and new and the alluvial respectively are very the productive in nature and suitable for other wide ranges of crops and the perennials and rivers as other source of adequate water supply. The northern plain is irrigated and by the three and the most important river, the Indus river, the Gangas river and the Brahmaputra river. Favor. Favorite climates and three types of the crops has been the cultivated Kharif from the July to the November and Rabi from the November to March and Zaid from the March to July and major crops and like the wheat, rice, sugarcane, pulse and oilseed and jute are grow there. Plain are and the suitable for infrastructure and economic development and thus flatlands and extending the continuously and from the Ambalas and to the Sundarbans and are the ideally and situated for the development of infrastructures, e.g. marketing over the longer distances and the establishment of food and processing industries. The density populated regions provided the requirement and labor forces for agriculture, and northern plains and have a very high density of populations, and because of the flat plains and with fertile soil and abundant and rainfall which provided the most and the needed labor force for agriculture. It is because of the above reasons and that the northern plains and have been the chosen and for the green and revolutions to address the food and crisis of the nations, and but the overall northern and region has not the adequate benefits out that there has been other disparities in the levels of development of agriculture in the northern plains, the westerns and regions of Punjab, Haryana and western Uttar Pradesh and has been the more benefited, and it has also the impacted the overall soil patterns and sustainabilities and which need to be the addressed. Conclusion: because of the above and conclusive features, the northern plain has been the considered the footballs of India or the breadbasket of India, and the effort are needed to the northern plain and towards the enhancing the productivity and profitabilities and stabilities and sustainabilities of agriculture. Question number 3: can the problems of water availability in India be solved or minimized the transferring the surplus and water from one basin to the water and defined basin and critically analysis? Direction: you have defined and what is river and interlinking. Give examples of the few and explain how will this and the transfer of water view linking help, and then give and the disadvantage and for the peoples and for the environment and for flora and fauna and for monsoons rain sites. Some of the examples and where the inter and linkings and works and where it didn't, and work from the India's and the world, and draw other diagram of other few linkings and project and give other balanced conclusion. Introductions: the India river and interlinks is other project and that the linking India's and rivers by other network of the reservoirs and canals to enhance irrigations and groundwater research, reduce persistence flood in the some parts and water and shortage in others, the part of India Aegean, Manas and Sankosh, Tista, Ganga and Ken to Betwa rivers and linking the Tapi and Narmada project etc. body. Yes, the problems of the water availability and can be the mitigated and by rivers and interlinking in India. The solutions to go and the floods, and it can solve the problems of the drought and the flood because at the times of need the rivers which causes flood Himalayan rivers and which can water can be the transparent to the peninsular rivers. Solve water crisis. Rivers linking will be the able to provide the drinking water facilities and to dry areas of India, and reducing the transportation cost. The project also help to reduce the transportation cost and by way of the creation inland and navigations waterway. The irrigatings and the agriculture. India's agricultural is the priority and the monsoons and departments. The project is going and to provide irrigations and facility to water deficits and the regions and e.g. the Bundelkhand regions of Uttar and the Madhya Pradesh. Renewable energies and sources as rivers, the linking and project and EV sages and buildings dams and the rivers reservoirs, and this will help in hydropower generations and estimated the potentials of the powers of 34 gigawatt, and to environment and interlinking can help the survivals of the fisheries and protected wildlife in the source of in the summer month. Due to water and the scarcity, it can and also the reduced and forest fires and occurring in India due to climate conditions. Inter-river linking also the attract tourism. And however, issues with the river interlinkings and negative impact on the environment, and the project involves the large scale and deforestation, and which could have cause a change in the habitat of the flora and fauna, and this will alter the entire ecosystem. Many the national parks and the wildlife sanctuary may be the submerged, and as other part of the project and implementations, the Ken Vedwas rivers interlinkings and the KBRIL and project and will leads to the submergence and of the major portions of the core areas of the Pannas and rivers and reserves in Madhya Pradesh. Increase and risk of water natural hazards. The project involves the large-scale building of dam and the reservoirs for water storage, and this will and the increase the changes of the reservoirs and introduce the seismicity. Rehabilitations buildings dams causes the displacement of large numbers of pupils. Impact of the climate changes and report and point and out and that the climate changes will causes the meltdown of 1/3 of the Hindu and Kush regions and glaciers by the 2,100 kilometers show the Himalayas, and rivers might not have the surplus and water for a long time. High cost, and the project is estimated to cost and the around rate and the 5.6 lakh crores. And interstate disputes and several states including the Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Assam and the Sikkim have already opposed the national rivers and linking project, and international disputes and several the countries like the Bangladesh and Bhutan and Nepal realized the concern over the development of dam and the reservoirs, and as the diversions of water have threatened and the livelihood as well as the environments. And Pakistan, Bhutan, Nepal successful example of the river linking project. Mahanadi living ring project and Godavari, Krishna and Pennar, Kaveri, Ken and Parvati. In India, Periyar's river project. The project and was started in 1895 to provide the irrigation facility and for the water and deficiencies Begai and river basin. The project and is envisages the transfer of water and from the Periyar's river basins to the Begai river basins. And Telugu Ganga's river project, and this project has been the implemented and primarily to meet the pressings and need for water and the Rayala Seamas and the uplanded of Nellore and districts in Andhra Pradesh. Telugu Ganga River project. This project has been the implemented primarily and to meet the pressurings and needs for water supply to the Chennai metro and politicians and areas, as well as to irrigates and 5.75 lakh acres in the Broads and Prawn areas and the Rayalaseema and uplanded of Nellore and districts in Andhra Pradesh. Kurnool and the Kodappas and Canal Project 1863, and the project envisaged the transfer of water from the Krishna basins and to the Periyar's Pennar basin. Invert South Northern and the water and transfer project, and as an WTP and China's and plans to link and the Yangtze River basin in the south and with the Yellow River basin in the north and Tagush and the Sagura transfer project is California State Water Project in United States. It is the diverse and water from the axis and watered and northern California's too, and the tribal centers and the southern part. And conclusion, and Tegus and Seguras transfer project Spain. It is connected and for the rivers and basin and the Tegus and Jukar and Seguras and the Guadiana too. The irrigates and southeastern Spain. The project has resulted in reduced and inflow in the Tegus. Conclusion, experts have and the claimed and that river and that inner and the linking of the rivers and the initially appears and to be other costly and propositions in the ecologicals and the geographicals, hydrologicals and economic terms, and but in the long runs and the need benefits and coming from it will and far outweighs and thus the cost or losses. However, and they suggested that there is the lack of and the international legal framework for the project. India is proposing, hence the before the implementing the proposals on a large scale is sound scientific and technical assessment needs to the undertake to make it and the techno and the economically feasible. Question number 4 examines how the jet stream and upper air the circulations and exercise an important influences on the weather systems in India and define directions. You may define the upper air and circulation and jet streams and list down and their impact on different weather conditions in India's, and you can the structures it as the possible impact, negative impact, and draw other diagrams to show it. Conclude and introduction. Upper air and the circulations and refers to the streams of airs and that flow and it and the higher at higher and the altitudes and of the atmosphere. They flow at the top of the troposphere and generally blow in the westerly and the direction. The jet stream is the geotropical wind and blowing the horizontally and through the uppers and the layers of the troposphere. अरे बस सुबह दो सही से अरे इतने उते ले जा फालतू परेशान. Flow at the top of the troposphere and generally blow in the westerly direction.